The Los Angeles riots and gay rights movement increased racial, ethnic, and gender awareness and opened up dialogue between people who prior to the riots essentially had no interaction with one another.
In 1991, Rodney King and two passengers were driving west on the Foothill Freeway through Los Angeles. The California Highway Patrol attempted to initiate a traffic stop after King was driving at speeds up to 115 miles per hour, first over freeways and then through residential neighborhoods. When King came to a stop, Police Officer Timothy Singer and his wife, Police Officer Melanie Singer, ordered the occupants under arrest.
After the two passengers were placed in the patrol car, 5 white Los Angeles Police Department officers, Stacy Kuhn, Lawrence Powell, Timothy Wind, Theodore Brisno, and Rolando Solano, attempted to suppress King, who came out of the car last. King was tasered, struck with side-handled batons, then tackled and cuffed. The officers claimed that King was under the influence of a drug called PCP at the time of arrest, which caused him to be very aggressive and violent towards the officers. Kuhn and King resisted arrest. The video showed that he was attempting to get up each time he was struck and that the police made no attempt to cuff him until he lay still.
A drug test for the presence of PCP several days later turned up negative. The incident was captured on a camcorder by resident George Holliday from his apartment in the vicinity. The tape was roughly 12 minutes long. While the case was presented to the court, clips of the incident were not released to the public. In a later interview, King, who was on parole for a robbery conviction and who had past convictions for assault and robbery, said that he had not surrendered earlier because he knew that an arrest for DUI would violate the terms of his parole.
The footage of King being beaten by police while lying on the ground became a focus for media attention and a rallying point for activists in Los Angeles and around the United States. Coverage was substantial during the initial 2 weeks after the incident. The Los Angeles Times published 42 articles about the incident. The New York Times published 17 articles and the Chicago Tribune published 11 articles. 8 stories appeared on ABC News, including a 60-minute special on Primetime Live.
On April 29, 1992, 4 officers were charged with assault with a deadly weapon and use of excessive force. 3 were acquitted of all charges. The jury acquitted the 4th of assault with a deadly weapon, but failed to reach a verdict on the use of excessive force. This also led to the federal government's obtaining grand jury allegations for violations of King's civil rights.
On April 29, 1992, the first day of the riots occurred. The acquittals of the 4 accused Los Angeles Police Department officers came at 3:15 p.m. local time. By 3:45, a crowd of more than 300 people had appeared at the Los Angeles County Courthouse protesting the verdicts passed down a half hour earlier. By about 6:30 p.m., a new group of people with clearly different motives appeared at the Los Angeles Police Department's headquarters at Parker Center, and 15 minutes later, the crowd at Florence and Normandy had started looting, attacking vehicles and people.
Takeo Hirata is on his way home from work. Rioters attack his car and bring it to a stop. He is beaten and robbed.
At about 6:45 p.m., Reginald Oliver Denny, a white truck driver who stopped at a traffic light at the intersection of Florence and Normandy Avenues, was dragged from his vehicle and severely beaten by a mob of local black residents. A brick was thrown at Denny and caused a near-fatal seizure. At the same intersection, just minutes after Denny was rescued, another beating was captured on videotape. Fidel Lopez, a self-employed construction worker and Guatemalan immigrant, was pulled from his truck and robbed of $2,000. Damian Williams smashed his forehead open with a car stereo as another rioter attempted to slice his ear off. After Lopez lost consciousness, the crowd spray-painted his body black.
By mid-morning on the second day, April 30th, violence appeared widespread and unchecked as heavy looting and fires were witnessed across Los Angeles County. Many open gun battles were televised.
The third day was punctuated by live footage of Rodney King at an impromptu news conference in front of his lawyer's Los Angeles offices, tearfully saying, "People, I just want to say, can we all get along?" By this point, many entertainment and sport events were postponed or canceled and the rioting continued.
On the fourth and fifth days, the National Guard entered South Central and begun to restore order. There were random areas of violence for days on end. This resulted in 53 deaths, over 2,000 injuries, and over 11,000 people arrested. Most were rioters or innocent victims. Over $1 billion in damages were done. In the 1990s and still to this day, African Americans and gays/lesbians are both considered minorities.
In April 1990, President George Bush passed the Hate Crime Statistics Act, obliging the federal government to keep track of crimes relating to sexual orientation as well as other biases. Several states and communities passed tougher laws against anti-gay crimes, including California, Iowa, Connecticut, Atlanta, St. Louis, and Montgomery County.
In the 1990s, policies restricting the immigration of lesbians and gays to the United States are withdrawn. Immigration restrictions on people with HIV and AIDS, however, remain in place.
The Lesbian Natural Resources was a nonprofit organization founded to help keep the feminist lesbian collective movement going by giving grant money to new communities or trying to give life to older ones. The Center for Lesbian and Gay Studies is established at the City University of New York. The Lesbian Natural Resources was a nonprofit organization founded to help keep the feminist lesbian collective movement going by giving grant money to new communities or trying to give life to older ones. The Center for Lesbian and Gay Studies is established at the City University of New York.
In 1992, gay rights legislation is passed in 7 states: California, New Jersey, Vermont, Connecticut, Hawaii, Massachusetts, and Wisconsin. The third Lesbian and Gay March on Washington attracts over 1 million members.
Senator Sam Nunn's Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy for the U.S. military becomes a law. The law comprises the decision that persons who demonstrate a propensity or intent to engage in homosexual acts are an unacceptable risk for addition in the military, which hunts against gay men and lesbians in the military continue to this day.
President Clinton also signed the Defense of Marriage Act, denying federal benefits to the same-sex spouses should gay marriage ever become legal, and creating an exception to the U.S. Constitution to allow states to disregard same-sex marriages performed in other states. Kelly Peterson founds a Gay-Straight Alliance at East High School in Salt Lake City, Utah. The city school board bans all non-curricular student clubs in order to keep the group from meeting. On October 6, the death of Matthew Shepard occurred. He was murdered because he was gay, beaten and left tied to a fence for 18 hours. This prompted nationwide demonstrations. More outrage occurred when religious conservatives picketed Shepard's funeral carrying anti-gay placards. Shepard's death sparks a Washington, D.C. march and renewed push for gay hate crime legislation. In 2000, Vermont was the first U.S. state to officially legalize gay marriage. The gay rights movement and the LA riots are similar for many reasons. First, they are both causes that wanted equal rights for different minority groups. African Americans wanted equal rights for their race, and gay people wanted equal marriage rights. The LA riots gave the African American community publicity on how there was still racial inequality in the United States, even though it was 1992. The marches and protests of the gay rights movement gave gay and lesbian people publicity on how they wanted equal marriage rights. The publicity for both of these groups made more people nationwide support gay rights and equality from African Americans, which helped their causes. These events helped people unite to fight for their causes and helped different people meet each other who would never talk to each other without the protests. There was unity throughout the causes, and more people joined in because of this unity, so the unity helped them win their rights. The gay rights movement and the LA riots helped people unify to fight for their rights and evoked more support for their causes.